Hello, and how are you doing today? So, we are going to look at the if function and conditional logic in Excel so that we can understand how Excel uses if function to make a decision based on a single condition or multiple conditions. And looking at daily life, you have weather decisions to make. On rainy days, you decide that you need to take your umbrella with you. On sunny days, you decide that you need to take your sunglasses with you. So that's the same logic that Excel uses to make a decision when it's given different conditions. And this brings us to the structure of how Excel does it. It does it using the if function, and if function has three main parts. So if you type if function, and then because it's a function, it must have parentheses definitely. And inside the parentheses, you have three params through which Excel has to have to make a decision. And the first param that you have to supply is the logical test. This is what expression or what condition are you going to evaluate as true or false. And then you have the second part where you input what is the value if the logical tests evaluates as true. And then you have the third part, value if false. This one tells you what is the value that you need to have if the logical test evaluates as false. So it's just three main simple parts that you need to understand, and then you can evaluate anything using the if function. And something important to note is that for this logical test to be evaluated, you need to have comparison operators. With comparison operators, you need to understand which operator and what it means. For example, if you're evaluating something that is greater than, you must use this operator. If it's less than, you need to use this operator. If it's greater than or equal to, if it's less than or equal to, you use this operator, and then not equal to, you must use this operator. So back to the logical test again. This logical test always know which is the correct operator to use. And we can look at a real example here. Let's delete so that we can do it together. So here I have employee targets. You have employee name here. Then you have the sales column that shows you how much each employee sold. And then you have the target, which shows you how much is the target for each employee. And now what we need to determine is, did the employees here meet their targets or not? So that means that we are going to work with the sales column and the targets column to do this. And remember that for us to determine whether the targets were met or not, we must use one of these operators. For example, on that case, we might need to use greater than or equal to or less than equal to, depending on which column that we are going to use to evaluate. So how do you do it? You type your if function here. And as we said, if function has three parts that you have to fulfill, and then you have to type the logical test first. What are we evaluating? We are evaluating if this sales is greater or equal to target, and when that happens, then we determine that the employee met their targets. So check which cell is this in. The sales value is in D7. So you can easily come say D7. If D7 is equal or greater than, so you have the greater than or equal operator. E7 is the target. If this condition is fulfilled, what happens? Then the employee met their target. So you need to have value if true is target met. And then if this is not true, if it's false, then what happens is that target was not met. So here you put target not met. And that's it. That's how simple you use if function to evaluate some decisions. So if you enter you're going to see that the first employee here met their target because the D7 value, the sales is greater than the target, which is 5,000. And for the rest of the employees, you just need to drag this formula down, and then we are going to see who met their targets and who didn't meet their targets. This employee here, Emma, didn't meet their target because the condition here is false. D7 is 3,000 and it is not greater or equal to E10, which is 5,000. And through this, you can see how Excel can use if function to make its decision. But this is a very simple example. From if function, you can also have nested or multiple ifs where you have to compare several conditions, and that is what we are going to look at in the next video. So thank you for your attention. If you liked this video, kindly consider subscribing to my channel and look out for the next video. Thank you so much and bye.